guitar, Yamaha guitar when I was 5, and I started just playing all the songs they had on the TV ads and at church on the guitar.
Cool.
And I guess that's what got me into music, was this Yamaha guitar.
Yeah, that's cool. So did you have any artists that, like while you were jamming on the guitar, there was music going on, not just at church and on TV, but was there any artists growing up that kind of made you go, what can I do with this guitar? What can I create?
Well, at 5, I was still, I think I listened to a bit of classical music, so I was like really into Grieg, like the Peer Gynt suite, which has got Paul the Mountain King. At that age, like you're pretty much exposed to the music that your parents have around that you hear on the radio, because you're not like going to go to the record store when you're 5.
Definitely. So what kind of stuff did your parents listen to?
They had like one Simply Red CD, one classical compilation, and they didn't really listen to a lot of music, but they had a really good 80s pop compilation. So after you've heard my music, knowing that there was a Grieg classical composer compilation CD and 80s pop CD, it'll make a lot of sense to you.
That's cool. Okay, I'll better go home and listen to it and
you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it makes total sense now. I get what's going on. So did you have any women influences growing up at all that kind of you felt were role models to get into music, or do you feel like they were absent?
Well, actually, that's a really good question. I think it's funny, like I guess I never really thought about music in terms of gender until I was older and was a musician.
Yeah.
And then I realised that the challenges that it can bring being a female musician.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I mean, I got into Patti Smith really in my formative years. She thought she was pretty rad. I used to love No Doubt. Thought Gwen Stefani was really rad.
Yeah.
That's Gwen Stefani, right?
It is, yeah.
Hole. Like always thought Courtney Love was like given a real unnecessarily hard time.
Yeah. So was this around your teenage years that you started?
Totally.
And were you conscious of, oh, there's a woman artist, or were you?
I don't think I was, because I guess at that time, like I was kind of middle class shore girl. Didn't really realise that I didn't kind of notice sexism.
Me either, and that's like kind of what I like to explore now, like being older and being like, okay, there is a thing happening here. Like I've had some weird stuff happen to me, and actually I didn't have many women role models growing up, and like I saw Fur Patrol for the first time a few weeks ago when they went back on tour, and I was watching Julia Deans play, and I went, holy fuck, I have never seen a woman fronting a rock band playing a guitar live in front of my eyes. Like growing up, I never did. Like there's some bigger bands that have come over, but they're just the women are singers or whatever. And it's interesting that you're kind of similar, that you didn't really have women role models growing up. And even when you started getting into women in music as a teenager, you probably
I didn't really think about the context of it. It wasn't something that, like I said, until I started getting a bit older and realising, wait, that shouldn't really be happening.
Yeah.
I started to think about that stuff more.
And because of your genre, have you found that it is a male-dominated genre, or have you found quite a lot of like women that you can kind of push out to sideways?
Well, I think I make kind of electronic-y pop, and I feel like there are a lot of female artists doing that. And it's becoming a lot more common. I do think that I've had, for instance, things reviewed by male music reviewers that lump all of your female electronic music and as like that's a genre.
It's a genre, yeah, totally.
But they would never do that with, like someone like, what's a male electronic? Let's say like Moby. I can't believe it's the first one that I thought of, Moby and Boards of Canada. Like they're both male electronic artists.
But they get to be
but
their own
they're totally
thing.
different.
Yeah.
But if they were female, would people just be like, oh yeah, that's the same?
Yeah, totally.
Maybe they would be.
Yeah.
Or not smart people,
not smart.
bigoted people.
And have you ever had any kind of ridiculous scenarios and experiences thrown your way that were swayed, that you feel like it was negative because you were a woman, or?
Yeah, well, when I was in a touring band, I was playing in the Brunettes and I was operating a MIDI keyboard that was controlled at that time by a Pro Tools session.
Right.
And it was all very techy, and we played about 150 shows over 160 days. And so I'd done this, every single day I'd set up.
You were very experienced. You knew what the fuck you were doing.
I know what I was doing. And there was one particular night that a sound man asked me if I wanted a mono or stereo input, and I said stereo.
Yeah.
And he was like, I think you want mono. I was like, no, I want stereo. And he's like, are there sounds like going from left to right? And I was like, yeah. It's stereo,
like
bro.
just having to like physically explain it. Do you know how stereo works?
And then he still wouldn't believe me, and he ended up like throwing the extra DI required at me.
Really?
And I was like 23.
Like he's throwing a tantrum that
Yeah,
you know what you're doing. Like it pissed him off.
Well,
that
he just didn't believe that I knew what I was doing, and I was like, why don't you believe me? So there's a fine line sometimes between maybe, I don't know, like, how do I put this without like sounding really dodgy, but
just don't sound dodgy.
not everyone is a terrible person, so like maybe someone is telling you something because that's the right thing to do,
Exactly.
not because you're a woman.
Yeah, exactly. And it
Yeah.
can go either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
But there's certainly a lot of assholes out there.
Oh yes.